Go.
Hey there, Wardens. This is Tigran with the Wardens Assembly, Vanguard of the Ragnarok. This right here is Jareth. He's going to be our wonderful test dummy today, and he's also going to lead the class on drops and falls for the LARP. All right, what's going on, Jareth?
Well, today we're going to start with some simple stuff, like just taking a sword hit, how to take a long range hit, which is basically how to make a fall safely and how to make somebody hitting you look like you just died. A basic example we're going to start with is just a simple strike wound. He's just going to stab or slash, and I'm just going to follow it and fall off camera. All right, ready when you are.
All right, cool. So this is going to be our strike for today. As you can see right there, I didn't hit him hard. I barely put any force into it. But with the way you train yourself and how you make it look, make it a lot easier. So we're going to try to speed this up as well because we got little hours of daylight left. All right, now moving on. Which way now, Jareth?
Oh, actually, first let's show the. I want to.
One more time. Do it one more time.
Okay.
One more strike?
Yep.
As you see right there, it's pretty simple. All he does is just lay back, grabs it by his butt, and then lets the moment just go with it.
And the biggest thing is you've got to know your dominant foot, because that's going to be the foot that pushes you up. And you just have your undominant foot roll back. And in doing that, you can do it even without a weapon, like so.
Alright, cool. Now, Jareth, what happens if you do it incorrectly? What can be the side effects of doing something incorrectly?
Well, there's a few. One, if you hit your head just right, concussion. But the thing is, that is very rare. You'd have to have jumped off with so much force that you're basically flinging yourself. If you're doing these right, you shouldn't be using enough force to hurt yourself.
So don't fling with the swing.
Yep.
Alright.
Now what happens if you don't do the stunt correctly with the blade?
With the blade can cause some hurt. Like, for instance, if I wait till it hits and he's swinging hard, I'm going to take that hit and it's going to just push me. And it can sometimes hurt. You're going to take the full front of the hit. If you know you're going to die and you want to enhance it, once he hits, if you're doing this right, even if I want you to give me a 40% swing,
Okay.
I barely felt it because I fell with it. I didn't. None of the force went into me.
Alright.
That's the point of these falls. If you do them right, you can enhance their swing, and you can feel less damage if you're done right, because you're going to take that force and use it to push you.
Now, doing these stunts, is there any chances of pulling muscles or causing other extreme pressures of pain?
Sometimes, but the thing is, it's stunt to stunt basis, because the one we're doing, you might roll a knee if you don't let go, let your body fall right, but the thing is, it's all about practice.
All right.
You do this on mats, do this on a pillow, a blanket, even on a mattress, and you'll notice, without shoes on first, because without the shoes, you'll know how your foot moves. And eventually you'll get good enough to where you can do it in boots, or even in sandals or whatever. But it's all about moving with the weapon and moving with your body to where it looks like something's going through you.
So how extensive can these falls get? Could they get, like, as soon as you get hit with something, you fly back 15 feet? Or is it just possible, like, you could get just hit with a simple strike and you just drop?
Well, I'm getting on my knees for one reason. Because I wanted to show a little example. That's a simple one. But the thing is, it's all about, it's as advanced as you want to get. You can take some of these simple falls, like that one you see me collapse with. If I continue it, I can make it look like he hit me with enough force to roll me. But we're not showing that today, because for one, I'm not limber enough.
Which means part of every stunt means that you need to stretch. Stretching is one of the main forms of your body being able to take a hit, be able to roll, or even just if you want to flex a finger. So, stretching is the most important thing to doing any falls, correct?
Yes, because if your body's limber, it will roll with it. If your body's too tough, when you hit, that's how you hear about stuff like, for instance, if you like to watch action movies, you know Jackie Chan's stunt reels where you see him get really hurt. Sometimes it's because his body wasn't limber enough. Those are good examples. Another good example is parkours. You notice how they'll roll with a jump? That's another thing that is technically stunt work. Because learning how to take a fall and rolling into it.
All right, so we've covered the basic kind of strike. Is there anything else that we're going to be covering today that will...
Long range. Because a strike, they're all the same. It's just collapse and roll and move your body with the blade. All right. A long range, there are two types. There's heavy long range, which would be throwing javelins like this spear here. And then there's the lighter stuff like throwing daggers, throwing knives,
throwing hammers,
axes. If you want, you can get a little bit off camera and throw at me.
All right.
We're going to show two. We're going to do a heavy. Hands to the chest. Remember that. Yep. See, I rolled with the blade and let this continue on. If the blade actually sticks into you, don't continue your roll. Since it went through me, I'm going to just roll on through it. It's all about taking what you know and enhancing it. Ready?
Next one is throwing weapons. It's a simple drop. Doesn't have to be expensive, doesn't have to make it look fancy, it just shows that he's been struck by a throwing projectile.
Because the smaller stuff is not going to have any force. Always remember, whatever you get hit by, think in your head, how much force does that have hit? Is it going to throw me? Is it going to just drop me?
Is it going to be able to clear your feet off the ground with the spear, or are you just taking a simple throwing knife? Ultimately, the fall matters to you and how you take a weapon hit or a small knife hit.
And also, because of this is a LARP, always think, how would your character do it? I have not been doing any of these as my character. I've just been showing examples. Because, for one, depending on character, it can be different. A good, for instance, is if you get hit by a heavy weapon and you're a half giant, or something.
It could just bounce off your pecs and you'd be just fine.
Yeah. A good, for instance, is a good one is if you're playing a lighter character like a dwarf or fae, something that has light bones. You just roll. Because you're light. If you're something heavy like, say, an orc charging, you're gonna collapse.
So depending on the race of your character and how they're designed, it could be a heavy hit, or it could be a super light hit. As we said right now, Jareth is a witcher who is part human and part other sub-race that is unclassified. The possibility of him taking a knife throw, I mean, he could just shrug it off. He could take the hit and just keep going. But if he takes a spear, more than likely, he's going to be getting a heavier strike. If so.
And I will say this, today I am wearing armor, which technically would have negated some of these hits. But I'm wearing it for my safety in these falls. Because I'm doing a lot of them today.
All right. Well, thank you, Jareth. That was a lot of fun today.
Yep.
And from the Warden's Assembly to you, and the great Lord of our Ragnarok, we will always have fun with you on the field. Hello, Legion, and welcome back to the halls of Ragnarok, our king. In this demo, we're going to explain to you how to do roleplay and other facets of the game. Now, you can go as far as to just walking in with a hoodie and playing around in some sweatpants, or you can gear up as such. Our Lord Ragnarok starts off with a mask, has the lion's pelt, has gear to hold his skulls and other equipment, a signaling device for when battle starts, armor, leg guards, and the whole shebang. Now, most of the time, we would tell you don't get too heavy with it. But other times, as we like to go from, getting heavy with it's our standard style. Now, Ragnarok, My lord, how would you suggest to a new player to start their character? Would you ask for extensively complex, or do you want them to start simple?
So to our newcomers, starting your character, I would suggest starting simple. If you don't play a lot of fantasy things, the entirety of our LARP is a medieval fantasy realm. If you don't play a lot of fantasy games, that includes D&D, Skyrim, Dragon Age.
Dragon's Age is a very good example.
Dark Souls, anything that has any mythical monsters, extremely fun characters to play. If you don't play those,
Primordial Weapons is a very good
Primordial Weapons, yeah. My suggestion is for simple human warrior sets. Now, if you don't want to be a warrior, we have the assassins, the archers, and the mages. Nice and simple. If you do, you can go ahead and be whatever you want. The only stipulations is cosplaying afterwards.
Building your kit. So, as we start from here, we're going to actually start with Jareth, my good friend the Witcher. We're going to explain his kit real quick in detail and what you can use for such sets of kit. Now, Jareth, I see that you have an Assassin's Creed vambrace. You have what looks to be a jewel signet that shows all the forms of magic you can use. You're using tactical gear with a I think it's a shotgun scabbard, isn't it?
Yes.
All
I
right.
hold my second sword.
All right, that's pretty cool. I actually enjoy the fact of tactical gear because I myself use the same thing. Now, I see that your actual holster for your sword is actually made of leather. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate using leather materials for LARP?
It's a mixed bag in my opinion. It's about a 5. Sometimes it can enhance, others it depends on the character. If it makes sense for your character, it works perfectly like this one does.
Okay.
But if you're a character that believes in more rustic ways, sometimes leather isn't going to work. You might want to try to make it look like hide, like Ragnarok's cape.
And for those of you that don't understand what kind of cape this is just a fur exterior with kind of like a canvas interior. It's designed for like couch cushions, pillows, so on and so forth. I mean, you can even use it for your steering wheel on a car. But now, with that, we also have Ragnarok's kit, which is made of, well, it's utilized of motocross gear, which you can find at most of your standard biker places. You can find them online. And you also seem to have riot gear as the kind of like the leg plates. Now, does the riot gear kind of get in the way of combat, or?
No, not at all, actually. And with the riot gear on, sure, it's a little bit heavy, but it's nothing no one can handle. You got nice mobility. You can move you can move really nice, really fast, and it's just something nice. It'll deflect any hits. You don't feel unless you're sweating on a hot day. You don't really know it's there half the time.
All right. See, that's another thing you might want to think about for your character. During the summer, we all know it gets a little hot. It gets a little unbearable at sometimes, and it just hurts. At the end of the day, you're sweaty, you're sore, so on and so forth. So sometimes this gear can be both a double-edged sword and a great thing. Because if you're wearing something like that, you pull a muscle, you might trip over it occasionally, but ultimately your kit is yours. Now, as I said, this is motocross gear. It's really lightweight, it breathes, there's a mesh on the inside, and you also have the tactical vest, which holds his babe if he decides to use it on the field. He has throwing skulls, which fit in these really cool pouches that we found for other things. And the throwing skulls are made of a dense...
That's pure foam.
It's a dense foam. It's just compacted really nice and took a shape. It's kind of like a stress ball, if you guys know what that is. Now, moving on from their kit to mine, I'm going to make this pretty cut and dry. These are motorcycle shin guards for motocross and other purposes. You can also use them for, I guess, maybe just BMX kind of stuff. I have another piece of kit that came with something about like what he's wearing up top. I'm wearing a plate carrier, which you'll see your standard infantrymen in the army use, which has a shamag, which it's just a scarf. There's really nothing special to it. And I also utilize a helmet. Now this is just a half helmet. This doesn't cover the full thing. So the back part of my head is exposed, but it's easy to take on and off with the bungee retention system to it. Most of the time, I would suggest wearing something with a little bit of coverage for your eyes because there is a chance of you getting poked in the face. We try to avoid headshots and groin shots at all possibilities, so you're not seeing any of wear lower protection besides what he's got on his legs. Now, you can make your kit as diverse as possible. You could change it up from what Jareth here is wearing, which is a mix between pretty much everything that looks rustic, modern, and heck, I mean, even his pants are tactical equivalent. Or you could get as lightweight as what I'm wearing, which is just a set of athletic shorts, a tank top, and I mean, that's it. I just put the plate carrier on, and I'm good to go. I also utilize the wonderful thing, which is a shield, if I can grab it, which is made out of just a standard sled for like winter, when you're sliding on the snow, or if you want to go to the sand dunes and kick off. And it's only tied in by a rope and a piece of arm strap. I'll just set that down right there. Weapons can be padded by actual homemade brew, or they can be what Jareth here is rocking as a throwing knife. These are pre-made pieces. They're really lightweight. They bend and flex like crazy. Or you can have something as diverse as this, which is something also pre-made, but there you go. It has a fiberglass core to it, so it gives it some rigidity and the chance of, if you do hit with it, you're not breaking up the design of the weapon. Now, this is a dagger in all retrospect. People might consider it a short sword, but whatnot, it depends on your character. If you're playing the short little halfling, it's a short sword. If you're playing a giant, it's a toothpick. So, moving on from there, we also have weapons such as the greatsword on my back, which is also a pre-made weapon, but it's also been enhanced by the player. I've got vet wrap down here for grip. I've got duct tape lining it to give it a little bit more flared edge. And I've had to replace this, repair this blade 4 times. So eventually your weapons will break, but you can choose whether or not you want to fix them or go buy something new. Now, you can pick Hero's Edge, which is a very nice arsenal piece, or you can make your own, which is something we really do here at Warden's Assembly suggest you do, because it branches you out into making your own gear, your own equipment, and at the end of the day, you know how you made it, so you know how to fix it.
Now, Tigran, you'll notice on my sword, guards and tips are gone. Can they expect that with all these weapons?
They can expect that from 90% of the weapons that are pre-made. Now, if you're rocking a weapon like my spear or even some of the great swords we use in combat, some of those are handmade. Now, with handmade weapons, you choose how flexible and how rigid your weapon is. Now, with these, since they're pre-made, the tips are going to be very, very thin, and the guards aren't going to be stabilized by something that's acting as a core like it happens all the way through the blade. With this weapon, you can do a lot with, but eventually it does break down over time. With my spear, if you'd be so kind as to grab it for me right now. With my spear, I'll hand that back to you real quick. This is just a PVC pipe that's been covered with pipe insulation foam and your standard hexagonal matting that you can get at Walmart or even find in the gym if they're no longer using it. With this, you can choose to make your weapon as rigid or as flexible as you wish. See, from here, the weapon is rigid, but it still has enough bend that if I struck Ragnarok, he wouldn't get the initial force. All the kinetic energy is still in the weapon. With these weapons, you strike, and it'll bounce off, as you just saw. And I'll watch the trophy. It's all right. I was aiming high anyways. But with that, there's also a chance for harm. So when we strike, we normally say 30% swings. Some of us have different swings than others. So really, it's just a fact of pulling your swing at the right time. Now, Ragnarok, is there any form of advice that you would give to a newcomer about taking weapon strikes?
The advice I'd have for newcomers taking a weapon strike, it would be more or less, if someone does end up swinging hard, do you mind?
Yeah.
Now, like you said, 30% swings. So our swings are coming at each other like this. It's a nice slow movement, but it's not too slow to where you know he's going to predict where you're going. My advice to newcomers is not to swing like a madman. Don't be swinging with all your force. And if someone does hit you with all your force, you gotta call them out on it. You gotta tell the admins and the referees at the moment. Tell the GM. He's gotta let someone know what they're doing. The fight will be stopped,
and the player will get shanked ultimately. We value safety over everything else here, but we also want people to have fun. So if me and Ragnarok are going at it, which normally we do, if you watch our videos, you'll see that most of our fights are standoffs just to see who's going to win at the end of the fight. But if you do see them going 100%, most of the time you just want to say, hey, yo, pull your swings back a little bit. I'm feeling like you're getting a little too reckless with your swinging. Now, if they do that and they take it once, twice, 3 times, if they still have problems with it, they'll come to us. Now, Ragnarok, Jareth, and myself are considered the admins. Right now, all 3 of us can classify as GMs, which means Game Master Ultimate. If there is a problem, you'll bring it to us, we'll address it, we'll take care of it. Now, Jareth, I know you haven't gotten very much speaking time in this. Is there something that you would advise to newcomers when they get to the Larp?
Best advice: do remember, if you're here for combat, do remember it's not just combat. There's going to be days you're not going to be fighting. And also, no matter what you're role playing, you want to try to embody your character for as long as you can. Even in these conversations, we're not talking to you as who we actually are. We're talking to you as Jareth, Tigran, and Ragnarok. Nothing else.
Now, as Tigran, your Vanguard commander, for people who want to join the Vanguard, how would you suggest them approach it?
If you'd like to join the Vanguard, there's just a few simple steps you need. You need to show that you're willing. You need to show that you're wanting to by coming all the time. Now, if you have some family emergencies or something going on, that's completely fine. We understand here. But joining the Vanguard, you need to prove yourself. If you can't take a swing, if you can't deliver a swing, then the Vanguard's not going to be for you. It's going to be more or less along more of the other rankings of the kingdom. The Vanguards are some of the elite soldiers in the game, and they can and they will teach you. Jareth can teach you in any way he wants. He knows his own styles. He can teach you anything. Tigran's our battle master. He'll teach you everything he knows, and maybe more if you ask him.
Now, Ragnarok, you did just explain how we're mostly elite soldiers. How many elites do we have currently? Part of the actual game currently.
Elite soldiers that we have would probably be about 5.
All right. So we got 5 very good players. What kind of promise do you see in the new batch that we've got over the last couple months?
The promise I see in the new batch is they don't quit. They're not afraid of a challenge. They're still showing up. They haven't just fallen off the face of the earth and stopped showing up. It shows promise. It shows dedication. It's actually really nice.
It is nice. We've had some of our best players show up in the last couple months. Now, while you're seeing this, you'll probably see this tomorrow, or the day after, or maybe even 6 months from now. As advisors and players that have been doing this for the last 5-6 years, we're going to explain to you how we play when you're here at the site. Now, if you want to see more of this kind of content, by all means, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and just look us up whenever you can. We're here in Enid, Oklahoma. We are not afraid of teaching people how to play, and we would definitely love to share our sport with you.
And don't forget, spread the word.
Spread the word, or Ragnarok's going to come tease you with this nice little trophy around his neck. And in the words of our great king, what do we say to the god of death?
Not today.
Not today. All right, thank you guys. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you next time.